Here.
Commissioner Nyson.
Here.
Commissioner Manis.
Here.
Commissioner Bender.
Here.
Chairman Cohen.
Commissioner Hagnon is going to lead us in prayer, and Commissioner Thunder will lead us in pledge of allegiance.
Heavenly Father, we humbly come before you today to ask for your guidance as we do the people's business. I pray that you be with everybody in this room, the county, and this country. I pray that you be with our economy and our leaders. And I pray it in your name. Amen.
Allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you everyone for coming out this morning. Do we have any additions to the agenda this morning?
Mr. Chairman, I just want to make a note, but I need to make an amendment to motion 248-2023 regarding the broadband ad hoc committee.
Okay, you have wording for that motion, or do we need it?
There's some other additions like there to be prepared. One more. We had some PA 116 applications that have come in. PA 116 is the Permanent Preservation Program. Individual farmers are applying for it, but there's a deadline, or it just came in apparently. So I would like to put on the agenda a motion to consider those for final approval at the whole meeting.
Authority to act.
Authority to act, exactly right.
So under number 3, PA 16.
PA 116 applications.
I'll support that.
Any discussion on that? Just the two additions? PA 116, under item number 3, and then Commissioner Hamilton. Do we need to put his amendment on the agenda, or just rewording of his motion?
I would prefer that you do a brand new motion, just to supersede the previous motion.
Okay. Can you do that? So he'll provide you with that in writing after the meeting? Do you want to let us know what those changes are before we vote on it?
Do you want to get the motion approved today? So you'll have it written on the contacts by the time we get to that, or you want to take down?
No, so you want that under number 4, or do you want it in the motions?
Number 4.
Okay, any further additions?
I have a question. Are you going to make any action on the sewing
Yes, we
contract?
got to add that to the agenda. Item number 5. I'll make that motion that we add the towing contract that was drafted by the prosecuting attorney to agenda number 5.
Okay.
Take it on support.
Okay, I have a question. You have
Because we have one
multiple
motion.
motions. You can make all your ads and then you move all with all ads and support. So
She wants to make a motion for 3 additions.
I'll make that motion.
I'll support it.
thank you.
Any further discussion?
I just needed the support because I didn't see your mouth move.
Hamilton.
Thank you.
So we have a motion to add Public Act 116, E 116, broadband amendment motion, and the towing contract. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carried. Okay, brings us to the August 24th regular board meeting minutes. Do we have a motion to approve?
I'll move to approve.
Take it on support.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carried. Okay, we have the Commissioner of Millage expense sheets coming around in the folder there. If anybody has any questions on those, please let us know. Training registration, overnight travel requests also, grant applications and budget amendments. That brings us to elected official department head updates. Are there any elected officials or department heads who'd like to speak this morning? Representative?
Just briefly, I wanted to let you know that our next edition of county directories are signing that. I'm going to give you all a copy. And that's just a little, so that
Awesome, thank you.
Oh, thank you. And just to mention, these are available in my office if any citizens would like to pick up a copy. It's one of the things that we do offer back to the citizens. It's a great resource with our phone numbers and just to also say, practically, we put it in this drive, there are changes because of things happening in other jurisdictions, but it's our best draft. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other department heads like to give us an update this morning? Okay, that brings us to our first public time. Anyone from the public like to speak during the first public time?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Ron Siskey, Woodland Township Supervisor. And I'm here to announce today that we have a disaster in this county. I don't know how many know about it. It's probably the worst one in 30 years that I can remember, being involved. Supervisors I've been, but crop damage in our county. I know you see it every day. These farmers have lost millions and millions of dollars already. It's a situation where if it happens early in the spring, they can replant and take it again. They're talking about 80% losses. And by the way, you're 3 minutes, I don't know when you're coming up. I got about.
Oh, no, you get one of those 3 minutes.
Oh, thank you. Anyway, I've been working with Sarah back here on this.
Actually, I'm sorry. It is public time, you get 3 minutes.
Okay, I'll try and hurry. But there's a flyer passing around here that there's a meeting on Monday at our township to deal with this. And we've got all the state reps and all the people that are involved in this, along with Sarah. Where we're going, what we're gonna do with this. If you ever wanna go out and look at it, you're more than welcome. Lynn Walton's got a helicopter, he'll take you over, fly over these fields. And we don't even know today yet, as far as soybeans and corn, how that's affecting them. You're a farmer, you know all about this stuff. I'm not telling you anything new, but until they get in the field and try to harvest, there's bold out there. Everybody's bought called carrots, right? Here, they're not gonna be available because they're rotten. It's that bad, so. You talk about dollars and cents, the farmers will all be there at that meeting. You're more than welcome to come. What you can do for us is fine. Get behind us, but I think it's important that this county knows what's going on. Our farmers are the most important people we got in this county. We're doing it good in the township because we got all the mud soils out there where they grow the carrots, onions, sweet corn. They have lost their crops. Back early in the spring, it was dry. I'm a Christian, man. We prayed for rain. And we got rain. About a month ago, I talked to the Lord and I said, hey, we've got enough. He gave us 2 more inches the next day. So that means that we don't have control over that. So here's where we're at. But to me, it's the worst disaster we've had since 1996 in this county. I don't know how many know about it. I'm going to announce that. If you folks can make that meeting, fine. We sure appreciate your support, whatever it is. And I know you drive through the area all the time. You see it. This time this gets out in the public to know what's going on. Piper, are you going to talk about that later? Or on the agenda? Piper, after you brought her up. You're going to talk about it later on the agenda?
We're just gonna create a full committee on it.
Oh, okay. Well, we just signed in our township a contract with a company out of Brown City called Fiber and part of our township. It's a start, so how far to go, I don't know. Third thing I got to ask for is ARPA money. We applied back in December, Village Township did. We got a park. We need to put up a fence and a one feet path. I think that was $500,000. The other part is for our old schoolhouse, we're rehabilitating for us. The history center, we need $30,000 for that. So I don't know where you're at with your ARPA money. So. But I did put that request back in December. So. So my 3 minutes are up. But you got any questions for me? Please ask. If you can be there Monday, please go ahead.
Just a clarification. So the disasters declaration we want is a federal disaster declaration.
Right. Also the roads, too. Nobody knows the damage that's been done on the roads up there. If anybody wants to come look the situation, I'd be more than take that. Lisa McLean, parade, we drove the whole township last week. They've got all the pictures in DC, all the damage out there. Thank you for your time. If there's any questions, we might have to.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank
thank
you
you.
so much.
See you Monday.
Yes. Anyone else from the public like to comment during this first public time?
Good morning, I'm Karen Southgate, the Director of the Department of Health and Human Services in Huron, Lapeer, and Tuscola counties, and I just wanted to introduce myself. So, I am going to reach out to Ms. Spencer about coming in and doing a presentation for you about the number of recipients in our community and the programs that we offer. So, yes, I just wanted to introduce myself. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public like to speak during the first public time?
Carolyn, Marathon Township, another meeting, our Marathon Township has had a lot of planning commission meetings. And they're mainly about short-term rentals, and they're about the solar energy ordinances that they're working on. And the thing about these meetings is like your meetings are always the same time. Well, they change the times. If you don't look on the website or you don't get notified, you miss the meeting because you're like, oh, it's going to be at 6, and then you find out it's at 3 in the afternoon. Well, this one is on October 9th, 1 o'clock, and this one is about short-term rentals. And we're supposed to have freedom, and I don't think it should just be everyone can do whatever they want. I think we have to be respectful to our neighbors, respectful to where we live. But when they have these meetings, these folks know about it, but these folks don't. And I think that you just have to really get out there. I mean, I try to notify people when I get notified, excuse me, but, there are specific people that their voices are heard and others aren't. They don't want the short-term rental, where someone who wants to have a short-term rental. I mean, again, and also in this meeting, it's not just these people that are showing up, but then it's like, oh, well, we need to have a short-term rental for our whole township. Okay, well, then our whole township needs to have a voice in that, to whether they want, we have 45 short-term rentals right next to us, but they don't call them that. But these other people don't want one in a 5-mile square or whatever. So anyway, that meeting, October 9th, 1 o'clock. And in honor of Mr. Rick Warren, I just want to read the 8th Amendment, because he always talks about J6ers. And the 8th Amendment says excessive bail should not be required, nor excessive fines imposed, nor cruel and unusual punishment inflicted. And we have a young man from Tennessee County right now that is imprisoned, has not received his due process, has not received representation that he needs. And his name is Isaac Thomas, and he is a friend of mine. Anyway, he is now in prison. They revoked his bail. So if you would like any information on Isaac, I can give it to you, and he can receive letters and cards, I think, where he's at. And then I'd also like to read the 2nd Amendment. A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. And I'd like to know how many county employees go through the front doors. How many of you get bonded or go through the, because I want everybody safe. I would love if everybody carried. Your rights would not be infringed upon. But I'd like to know how many people go through those front doors like we do. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public like to speak during the first public time?
Good morning, everybody. My name is Deborah Bastine, and I'm here to introduce myself and what I've been doing for the Department of Health and Human Services. I currently am on the board, and my term does expire at the end of October. And I think by now you probably have received my application for reappointment. If not, please let me know because I haven't turned that in. But I believe that we all have a responsibility to both the Department of Health and Human Services, the clients that we represent, as well as those that are living in Suncrest at this time. And our county is very blessed to have both departments working so closely together. We're really blessed to have Suncrest, and so we do appreciate what our county has done to allow us to have that facility. And I do think that the end of James 127 says that we are to take care of an orphan and a widow. And I think that, we can put our own spin on what an orphan and a widow is. But if you look at the Department of Health and Human Services, certainly we do have orphans there that we are responsible to take care of with the programs that we can, offer, as Karen had mentioned. But at Suncrest, you would probably not think of those residents being orphans, but there are some that have absolutely no family, no one that comes and visits, no one that really represents them. And we do have widows, obviously. So I feel like my position on the board is to make sure that we do have the proper programs for both departments and that we are instituting the way that we should. I feel like my experience that I've had on the board for the last 9 years speaks well of the knowledge that we see. I worked for the Department of Health and Human Services for many years prior to my retirement. Did not have any knowledge of what Suncrest was and how to run a facility of that size when I got there. But I have learned a lot, and I think that my knowledge going forth would be beneficial. So I just ask that you will take me into consideration for the reappointment. If you have any questions about what I've done since I've been on the board, please let me know. I'd be more than glad to come and talk to you individually or again as a group. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public like to speak during the first public time?
Good morning. I wrote my thing out because I am extremely nervous. My name's Jolene Kreiner. I'm the administrative assistant at the Veterans Affairs Office, and I'm steward for Teamsters 214, representing all general employees at Lapeer County. I would like to address the proposed social media use policy. As employees from my unit and other Teamsters unit, the employees at both circuit and district court have several questions regarding the policy language as it is written. It is my understanding that the county's attorney is working with our business agent to arrange a meeting between Moses and the union to discuss our concerns and answer questions. Because we have not received a response at this time to sit down and meet, I want to inform you as the board that we do have questions regarding the proposed policy and would like to discuss this with Moses at a mutually agreed upon time in the very near future. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public like to speak?
Good morning, gentlemen. Jerry Codro, the township. I'm here to speak about the sanitary code resolution from the last session. Michigan's the only state in the union that doesn't have this type of regulation in here. It was mentioned that we can't have something that's one size fits all. I could agree to that, but states as diverse as Florida, Texas, California, Alaska, if they could figure out how they could take care of, septic fields and that sort of thing, I think there's enough smart people here in Michigan that could do that. Now, Kathy pointed out that the health department has concerns about that, and recently I was on a Zoom call with the state majority Senate leader, Sam Singh, and he was specifically asked a question about this, and he acknowledged that there are several health departments that are, have issues with this. And if they're going to be implementing this sanitary code that they should keep the lead. Well, he acknowledged that, they have to get those departments on board. So once they kind of get the health departments on, then they're gonna push the legislature through, hopefully around the time of the election. You couldn't really tell whether it be October or November. Well, you certainly don't wanna kind of bury your head in the sand on this type of issue, especially next to a repeat septic.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public like to speak? Okay, we're gonna close the first public time. Bring this to new old business draft motions. We need the whole from August 10th. Motion to approve those.
Yeah, on page 1, I will move 1 through 6.
August 10th one.
I'll move that one to start off. So on page 1, I'll move motion 1. Support.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carried. Number 6.
Now I'll move 1 through 6 on page 106.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Glenn, have you have a question?
Who was the second?
Sorry, I told you the last
Come
meeting.
on,
I
Senator,
would
start
tell
that
you.
last name.
No, I recognized the voice, but she said it was nicely, so I was breaking the tie.
Okay. So any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carried.
I'll move motion 7 through 9 on page 2.
Motion by Hamilton, support by Nisley. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carried.
Motion 10 and 11 on page 3.
Hagan on support.
Motion by Zunder, support by Agnon. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carried.
I'll move 12 on its own because the next two are resolutions, so I'll move motion 12. On page 4 of 6.
I'll support.
Support. Lots of motions. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carried.
I'll move the Lapeer County Resolution 2023-R10. Which is motion 13 on page 4 of 6.
Motion by Agnon, support by Nisley.
Comment on that.
Commissioner Hall.
We had some public comment a minute ago about the sanitary septic code. And it's a very complex issue. I'm opposed to what's being proposed because it's a lot more than just a statewide code. They are looking at doing mandatory inspections, which could have an incredibly harmful effect on certain people. And more importantly, much of the concern is about enforcement. We've already got enforcement. Our county health department, if I've got a leaking septic tank next door, I can file a complaint. Our health department can deal with that. So I'd really rather deal with the Lapeer County Health Department than the state of Michigan and the bureaucracy at that level. So I don't think any of us are opposed to septic enforcement, but state takeover is a whole different question. So I think this is a very good resolution.
I agree.
Okay, any further discussion? Will the clerk please call the roll?
Commissioner Hagadone,
Yes.
Commissioner Hamilton,
Yes.
Commissioner Howell,
Yes.
Commissioner Nicely,
Yes.
Commissioner Mast,
Yes.
Commissioner Zender,
Yes.
Commissioner Coleman.
Yes. Okay, motion carried.
I'll move, motion 14 on page 5, resolution 2023-R11, resolution in support of local government control over zoning.
I'll support.
Motion by Hamilton, motion or support, Commissioner Howell, good discussion?
Just so the public knows what we're talking about, this is the one opposing the potential state takeover on wind and solar to take away local zoning authority from our communities. Again, it's a really a crucial issue between the citizens' rights to be involved in how their communities develop, as opposed to the state dictating to us what goes on.
Any further
Mining
discussion?
is also on this, right?
And mine.
Any further discussion? Will clerk please call the roll?
Commissioner Hamilton,
Yes.
Commissioner Howell,
Yes.
Commissioner Nicely,
Yes.
Commissioner Mast,
Yes.
Commissioner Zender,
Yes.
Commissioner Hagedon,
Yes.
Chairman Coleman.
Yes. Motion carried. It brings us to 15, 16, and 17.
I will, move draft motions 15, 16, and 17 on page 6.
Support nicely.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carried. Brings us to Properties Committee. Motions 1 through 4. So we have a motion by Boswell, supported by Nizey, to recommend to the full board to approve the family building company to complete additional concrete work at a cost not to exceed $3,300 to be paid for by CMH at no additional cost to the county's general fund. And the reason this was in there is because the concrete was originally thought to be at 4 inches and it was 8. Is that correct, Lauren? Okay. Do we want to vote on these individually? I would suggest. Unless, that way if you have any objections to each one.
So you made a motion on one?
No, I'm just reading it out.
I'll make the motion for number 1. Okay.
I'll support it. Hamilton.
Okay, discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carried. We have number 2, motion by Nizey, supported by Bustle, to recommend the full board to accept the user license agreement for an online vital records request application provided by Promedium at no cost to the county, and authorize the chairman and vice chairman to sign the agreement.
I'll move it.
Hagedon, support.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carried. Motion number 3, motion by Nizey, supported by Bustle, to recommend the full board to approve the purchase of the proposed office furniture for the office of the prosecuting attorney at a cost not to exceed $11,856 to be paid from line 205-100-700.100 at no additional cost to the county's general fund.
I'll move that.
I'll support it. Can you repeat that line item? I'm just kidding.
I'm gonna say no.
So,
Commissioner Center?
you have a question? Go ahead. I was just wondering about, the furniture is top of the line. It is by far the best furniture you can buy. Would it be wise to maybe try to get something cheaper?
Commissioner Center?
So I had a couple comments on this. I looked at the paperwork attached for this. And it looks like he's outfitting 3 offices. One office doesn't have any furniture in it. So I guess my question is, why is he doing the other 2? And then this furniture, there was about a $1,500 delivery fee with that. Is this furniture assembled, or is this like an IKEA kind of thing where our buildings and grounds department's gonna spend, 3 weeks putting this together, because there's 9,000 pieces. So those were just a couple of the questions I had. regarding this? And then, you know, as far as the delivery fee, I guess I'm assuming that this stuff comes mainly together. Is it coming on a freight truck or something, or is it a you know, like furniture place that's gonna like unload it, take it upstairs, and that sort of thing? So those are just some of my questions.
Any questions?
I was leaving during the properties meeting, like that was discussed about it being assembled or not, so I really don't think that would be brought up. That would be a question for the prosecutor or John. You know, so
Yeah, questions were asked.
So what about the other two offices? Why are we putting furniture, new furniture in those?
I believe one of the pieces of furniture wouldn't fit that they have to move or something, so they had to replace it, so it's gonna go downstairs. And then the other two offices, I thought that there were just two offices of furniture, there's three.
From what I understand, they want everything to be matching, and then they've added staff, maybe additional.
UAP positions and, you know, for the staff. You know, you get what you pay for. I think that was one of the more competitive bids that were on that sheet. You know,
And maybe I'm wrong, maybe I just kind of glanced at it, but I thought it was through like one of the government bid programs or whatever, where I only seen one bid on that. They're just like when we buy cars.
Right.
Buy that same bid, they don't have to get,
They don't have to.
three quotes and whatever. I believe that's what it was, I'm not 100% sure. Is there any objection to maybe postponing this with the authority to act for our next meeting? Just to get some of these.
Some additional information. Jackie, the line 205-100, is that their own, comes out of their own budget, or does this come out of the
It's the
county
prosecuting.
millage, or the millage, the law enforcement millage?
Yes, it's the public safety millage.
Okay, so it comes from millage money, okay.
So $12,000 of almost $12,000 of county taxpayer money that came from an additional millage. I'd just like some of the questions answered. I don't have a problem with doing it, just, again, if this is something that it's gonna, you know, this is not the only cost, is the buildings and grounds has to spend a couple weeks putting it together, or days, or whatever it is, I have no idea.
The additional information section on here that included in the RFA says that replacement desks are similar materials and quality as existing furniture. Filling the 7th attorney position has led to the need to reassign office spaces between attorneys and staff, support staff. Different sizes of offices prohibits transferring the VR desk to a similar smaller office. One formerly vacant space had no office furnishings at all and has only a table for a workspace.
But normally when you move a person, you don't move furniture with the person. That furniture would stay in the office, right? So I mean, if me and Truman switch offices, he's not taking his desk, he's just gonna take mine.
That is true. I agree, those are good questions.
Yeah, those are good questions. And,
Are you making that motion to postpone it to the next meeting?
Well, we've got a motion on the floor, so we need to address that one first.
Well, when a motion to postpone would have precedence under Robert's rules.
That's why I'm glad it's the next meeting.
I'll make a motion. I will support Commissioner Sanders' motion.
Lynette, do you have that motion? Postpone it to the next meeting with authority to act?
So is this going back to committee?
I think if the prosecutor just gives us some information. I'm sure the prosecutor's either watching this or he will be. Give us the information.
I'm good with it coming back to the board. At least we have a motion and support. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carried. Okay, number 4, motion by Nisely, supported by Mask, to recommend to the full board to authorize the purchase of parcels. I'm not gonna list all these numbers. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them, located in Metamora Township, Lapeer County, to be paid initially by Lapeer County General Funds at a cost not to exceed $45,074, and reimbursement by the Merritt Lake Special Assessment District, with monies to be collected from the levying of special assessments.
How much land total is that?
There's small lots of all those lots, there's only one lot that really has dry land, they're all underwater. It's swampland. It's part of the watershed that goes on the north side of Merritt Lake, and then it drains over into Lake Metamora underneath Pratt Road. There's a tube that goes underneath there, so there access to the other portion of the watershed and the tube, and if they ever to do maintenance, they have no access for it. And this property ended up back in tax sale, and it was available in tax sale, so it actually went to the treasurer's office, and they purchased the property, or got the property back to tax sale, and Joe Silva wants to make sure he has that property available in case they do need to access the drain and the drainage for Merritt Lake, in case there's ever a need in the future. That's the reason why.
Yep, and initially started out, so the value of the properties based off the SCP is around 22,000, and then
There's a bunch of back taxes.
the back taxes and the fines
Penalties and
are about
fines.
$22,000, $23,000. That's why.
So essentially, one department's paying the other department.
Yes, yes.
And the assessment district is roughly around 100 people.
Yeah, 100 people, and he thought there'd be more once they redid the assessment district, and that might be about a couple of near 120, so. It'll all be reimbursed back from the assessment district.
Is the assessment district on board with this? Is this?
Yes.
Is there support from that?
I don't think anybody made the motion yet, but I'll make all the motion approved.
I'll support it.
Motion by Nisely, support by Hagnon or Zender. Whoever. You want to write down? Okay, any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carried. That brings us to Policies and Procedures Committee from September 15th. Commissioner Howell, you want to?
Yes, it's 3 very different motions here, so I guess we vote on them separately. Just to get the ball rolling here, I'll move the first one, which is the fee schedule for cremation services at Animal Control.
Support.
The background here is that we're just making sure that we're covering our costs. We got a new facility down there for cremation. This is a service that's not mandatory. People come in and want the service. We just want to make sure they're paying the price that properly reimburses the taxpayers for their investment in the facility.
I'll support that. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carried.
I'll also move the second motion, which are amendments to the Lapeer County financial goals, policies, and practices.
Hang it on support.
Any discussion?
Yeah, on that one, perhaps Jackie could help us. It's fairly extensive documentation there that we needed to adopt. So Jackie, if you could give us just a thumbnail sketch of the background on that.
Yes, for a number of years, the county's auditors have been recommending that we update our federal award policies. The federal government changed their rules, and we need to comply with those rules. So, like for the purchasing policy, it's more specific than our general policy, where we address competitive bids, where sometimes we purchase things that are not the lowest bid. So the reason that we're allowed to do that. And then also, single source or sole source vendors that you know, sometimes have only one choice to buy the item from. And then it also asks us, the federal guidelines ask us to separate the personnel policy from the purchasing policy, and there's a third one too that's, it's at the back, right? That's the compensation. Page 30. Yeah, 30. It's just the management policy, the grant management policy. So there's 3 new policies. They were separate from our financial goals and procedures in the past, and we're now rolling them in with the financial goals. And basically, it's at the recommendation of our auditor. Strong recommendation, yes. Any questions?
We have motions for. Okay. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carried.
And I'll make the third motion, which is to update our meal and mileage reimbursement rates.
I'll support.
The background on that is that we all know that the Biden administration inflation is eating people alive, including our county employees. We have not updated the mileage reimbursement rate for a long time, and gasoline prices went to the ceiling. So what we're doing here is we're saying we're going to use the same rate the IRS uses based on the studies of actual costs. And they change that at least once a year, sometimes twice a year when inflation is raging. So the idea here is simply to make sure that our employees are reimbursed a fair amount for using their private vehicles for county business. Meals are somewhat similar. They haven't changed the rate for a long time. Prices are going through the roof. This is to bring the meal reimbursement policy more in line with actual costs.
Can you subtract from the CONUS rates, the government CONUS rates?
I can't tell you where the meal rates are coming in. Mileage rates are the IRS standard rates we all use. Maybe Moses could help.
Sure. The meal rates are from the General Services Administration, so it's a federal government agency that calculates like average costing throughout the United States for various products and services. So what I did is I took their numbers for the state of Michigan and for meals for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and then I took that and compared it to ours, and I didn't bring it up to their numbers, but I increased what we had about 30%, so we're about 25% short or below that number, but I think it gets us closer to what the actual cost is for employees when they're out on the road, when they're coming up to the county.
Any further comments or discussion?
There is historically though, they have gone up and they have come down, correctly? There's times
far
where they've adjusted them down too.
Yes, so as far as the mileage rate, that's given out by the IRS, and it can be changed within a calendar year, and it does go up and down according to the fuel costs and the insurance costs, and also the rate of inflation.
That's a very good point, because in the past we just had a flat rate. Well, that's when I got out of whack, because the flat rate was set and then prices went like this. So under this policy, it will follow that IRS rate. So if, hopefully, gasoline prices go down in the future, that rate will go down. So it will move with the federal rate rather than us having to address it each time.
Any further comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carried. Okay, that brings us to audit motions. We have county audit motions on September 8th, 12th, and 22nd of 2023. The road commission's audit motions for disbursement statements. For that. Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you.
And then I see with what was brought down there, they've added in an additional one that wasn't in the packet. So if you want to address that as well.
The personnel committee.
So you have some from September 14th, and one from today,
This morning.
this morning. Which wasn't added at the beginning of the meeting. because there was no letter.
Fourth from the end, fourth page from the end. There we go.
Should I, do we need these?
Sure.
Do you want me to go through one at a time, or?
If you feel the need to. Any commissioners object, or would you like them to go through each one individually?
I think the first one probably at least worth going through individually and then
Just so the audience
Sure.
understands
Sure.
what's going on.
Sounds good.
All right, I will move, motion number one, to, pursuant to the recommendation of the Personnel Committee to authorize CMH to make a one-time transfer payment to the MERS fund in the amount of $750,000, into Division 6, CMH Union, and $179,250 into Division 60, CMH Non-Union, to be fully paid by CMH funding and at no cost to the county general fund. Did I miss one? Okay, I missed that part. Okay, $750,000 total, $570,750 Division 6, CMH Union, and $179,250 into Division 60, CMH Non-Union. Sorry. Support.
Any discussion?
Just a comment, if I could. This is a $750,000 expenditure to help shore up pension funds. I just want us to continue to be aware of the ballooning costs we're facing in this kind of a pension fund. And because very large pay increases were granted a few months ago, one of the effects of that is that also increases your pension debt obligation by a very significant amount. So I'm all in favor of making this transfer. We have to fund these pension funds. But I think we as a commission need to continue to be aware that we may have to address this situation long term. Right now, we're just filling a deficit pool.
You mentioned an increase in wages, and that would be the gap created by the wage study?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, just so everyone knows.
And so the pensions are based on a percentage of the wages. So inherently, when you raise the wages, you raise your pension debt. And in this case, because wage increases were very much larger than usual, you'd increase that pension obligation by a very much larger than usual amount. So nothing, not having anything today. I just want us to always bear this in mind as going forward, we've got to factor this in. This is big money.
I have a question for Lauren. These two Division 6 and Division 60, at what percentage are they funded now for this amount?
Division 6, when you look at the actuarial study, Division 6 is funded at 97.2%. Division 60 is funded at 103%, 103.3%. But what we did at CMH about 5 years ago is we moved away from funding our pension based on the actuarial projections and moved to the market value projections. So when you look at market value, we're underfunded by a little over $2 million. So this 750,000 just shores up the market value of the MERS funds for both these, because the units are separated. it shores up the market value. I don't know if it was in your packet, but at the personnel committee level, we provided a worksheet that our auditor did, where he had sketched out and indicated that close to, I want to say 2.6 million market value, we were underfunded. So we had available revenue that we could put towards that unfunded portion. And when you're in a defined benefit retirement program, you have to keep those funded because the county is liable for that expense, as Commissioner Howell said. So, you know, in years that CMH has had money available and there's been a deficit in those market value projections, we've added to our pension fund. It's simply prudent for the long-term viability of the county. You know, if we ignore these now, you know, 10 years from now, we may not have available funds and we may be at 60% funding. You know, then you get more retirees and then, you know, the expense goes, it's even worse. We try to keep ours funded as close to 100% as we can from an actuarial perspective. But then again, our contributions are based on market value. That was a choice we made about 5 years ago because using market value has allowed us to make additional contributions, which actually keeps our funding, you know, at or above 100%.
So the current percentages of 97.
I think it's 97.2 and 103.3.
So those are based on the old wages. So once the new wages kind of affect the
Yeah,
retirement.
well, this was this actuarial study was completed in December of 22 prior to the implementation of the wage study. So the wage study went into effect in January. So we already anticipate in 23, December of 23, when they issue the next actuarial report, that you're going to see those percentages more out of whack because the wages that they're using to calculate those, you know, jump. So this is insulating against that inflationary effect as well.
Do you know what the percentages will be after the new wages go into effect? I mean, have you?
Oh,
if
that's
division says 97.2, what would it be if you didn't do anything? How far would it drop?
Actuarial calculations are beyond the ability of our finance departments.
It's an educated guess, so our thinking was at least like 20% correction.
Oh, wow.
You know,
So down to 72?
That was my thought by the end of 2024, yeah. So even though these numbers now are very like cushiony with 97.2% and 103%, that's gonna fit.
So let's just say that you're 75% funded. In order to be upside down, you would have to have like more than 25% of your staff retire. Basically, if they were all paid the same, you have to have everybody retire at the same time, because you're never going to have to provide retirement for 75% of your population for your employees. So to be in a danger area, you really have to have a mass amount of employees retire to draw on that money. And I'm saying that because, like Commissioner Isley has said, that the average is 80%.
Yeah.
See, actuaries consider that pretty safe,
Right.
you know, especially in volatile markets like the
Right.
volatile market right now. I've been through all that. My previous employer, we filed bankruptcy at Delta Airlines
Right.
in 2004, 2005, and we had frozen pensions. We had pensions that were kicked to the
Right.
ETC, and some of them were just totally wiped out. And I was fortunate enough to have a frozen pension, and then we went into the defined contribution plan after that, which was a lot better than what a defined benefit plan would offer us.
Right.
So just one more question, Lauren. Where precisely is this money coming from? What fund?
This is coming out of our, what would be our Region 10 capitation fund. So Region 10, provides us X amount of dollars to provide services in the county. And we have money available out of that revenue.
Is this the same fund that was, you were attempting to use it for retirement? Or stipend pays and all that?
No.
Mr. Hagan, do you remember?
Yeah, I remember, but this is not the same fund.
No, this is not the same.
Okay.
We do still have money available to make those payments.
That particular fund could go for something like this.
Well, yeah, that's part of the strategy. But we have enough revenue available, we could actually do both.
Thank you. Any further questions? We have motion and support on this discussion. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, Lauren.
All right, motion number 2, by Howell, supported by Hamilton, pursuant to the recommendation of the Personnel Committee to authorize the CMH Chief Executive Officer to negotiate the rate of pay within the approved steps for full-time master level clinicians or other master level supervisor positions only, which will be determined based on licensing, credentialing, and certification in evidence-based practices in order to expedite employment offers due to the statewide labor market shortage of qualified master level individuals, with the understanding that all associated costs will be paid by CMH and at no cost to the county's general fund.
That's your motion.
That's my motion.
Support. Thunder.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carried.
All right, I will move motion number 3, motion by Hamilton, supported by Howell, pursuant to the recommendation of the Personnel Committee to authorize the county administrator/controller to hire a temporary contractual consultant position to assist in the animal control division until the vacant chief position is filled.
Support. Any discussion?
Is that?
Yes, Hamilton support. Okay, seeing no discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carried. So do we want to add this additional personnel motion, special meeting to number 4 on this same sheet? Is that what we're going to do?
Continuation.
So we have additional personnel motion for CMH from 9/8/23 special personnel meeting. I do not have a copy of that.
It was in what was passed around.
Let's go to the second page. This new one.
It's the second page, it's a little back here.
Yep, I got it. Sure.
Okay, I make a motion to move, motion number 1, pursuant to the recommendation of the Personnel Committee to amend the table of organization and authorize community mental health to add the following new positions to fulfill the requirements of the state demonstration participation as a certified community behavioral health center, which will also provide services to the mild to moderate clients of Lapeer County as follows, to be paid from CMH funding and at no additional cost to the county's general fund. Phase 1 will be October 2023 to December 2023, and they will hire a certified peer support specialist, and 3 master level clinicians, 2 account clerks, 1 VA supervisor, 1 general clerk. And further, with the understanding that CMH will report back to the Personnel Committee of the program demands for consideration of potential Phase 2 staffing requests.
Support. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carried. Personnel. Takes us to audit motions.
I'll move the audit motion for the county and road commission into the record.
Support Hamilton. Any discussion? Will the clerk please call the roll?
Commissioner Headline,
Aye.
Commissioner Nicely,
Yes.
Commissioner Mass,
Yes.
Commissioner Zender,
Yes.
Commissioner Hamilton,
Yes.
Commissioner Howell,
Yes.
Chairman Coleman.
Yes. The motion's carried. These two notice of expiring terms, unexpired partial terms. We have Brownfield Redevelopment Authority, County Control Administrator. With the recommendations,
The Brownfield and Economic Development, the previous board held those spots open until the controller was selected. So that would be your,
so there'll be Moses.
So we're in a position to make those appointments then. I'll move that we appoint Moses Sanzo to the Brownfield Redevelopment Authority and to the Economic Development Corporation. Board of Directors.
Take it on support.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carried. Economic Development Corporation Board of Directors.
you did that one.
I included it.
Oh, you did? Oh, I'm sorry. It will be C, Senior Programs Advisory Board, Commissioner District number 7. Do you have a recommendation for that? Yeah, okay. Okay, D, Valley Area Agency or Agency on Aging, Advisory Board, 1 expired term. The Advisory Board. Recommendations. E, Valley Area Agency on Aging, Executive Board. Recommendations. From Regional Community Corrections Advisory Board. Recommendations. Jury Board, judicial recommendation, 1 expired term.
We're still on a holding pattern for judicial recommendation on jury court.
Thank you. Veterans Affairs Committee, 1 expired term.
We're still waiting for the applicants on that.
Okay. Board of Canvassers, 2 expiring 4-year terms. So we have
There was an email that came, a couple of applications for the board of canvassers, but I don't see those applications on the packet.
I just have 1.
We generally don't put the applications in the packet to prevent public knowledge of personal information. But I did email those. Okay.
Okay.
I did email all that I've received, and also administration had received one, so I put those together, gotten 2 for the Democratic representatives and 2 for the Republican. There's 1 remaining Republican nominee that I have not received an application for as of yesterday. I was waiting so that I had all of them to present to you, and I did email them yesterday. So it's up to you if you want to move now or wait and give more time for that other nominee to present their application. And just to let you know, I normally don't get involved in that process. Normally, I would tell you who the nominees are, and then those persons would be filling out an application with administration, and then those would be provided to you. But in this year, some people had come to me, so that in order for me to feel confident that everybody had the same information, that's how I got involved in that process. So just
Given the fact that we got applications, so I'll move we appoint Michael Eckert to the Board of Canvassers as Republican.
Support.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carried.
I will move to appoint Vanessa Buffin to the board of canvassers for the Democratic Party.
Support.
Any discussion?
Somebody else have support on that? Okay, I'll support it.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carried. There's two public ones, right? So we have,
One of each, we're fine now, with
Okay.
the terms being filled, and just to let you know, I will contact the persons that have been, nominated chosen by you folks, so that they can come in and get their oath of office, and we'll be providing them the current manual that I have, and I'll just give them a little snapshot of, what will be going forward, starting effective November 1st, because that's when the term will start.
Okay.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. Okay, so Department of Health and Human Services,
I'll make a motion that, please forgive me if I butcher your name, Deborah Bestine be appointed to the Department of Health and Human Services for her expiring
Hamilton support.
any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carried. Discussion on the October 12th, 2023 Committee of the Whole meeting to be held at the Historic Courthouse.
Yes, at our last meeting, you all gave the blessing to have me talk with administration and Clerk Spencer. We did have a meeting, and it also included John Bussell of Buildings and Grounds. So I'll try to remember everything that we discussed, but the Historic Courthouse is not in use on October 12th, the day of our Committee of the Whole. We'll make a motion later after I'm done to actually move our meeting over there, but it is all set up. They'll have the tables, they'll have a recording device, so it won't be live streamed, but it'll be uploaded later. The clerk's all good with it going over there. Buildings and Grounds is all good. Moses is all good. That's my update. So with that, I'll make a motion. Oh, very important. There will be notices down here and also a big poster sign when you walk in saying, no, our meeting's actually across the street at the Historic Courthouse. So that if anybody happens to come in here, they know to go across the street. And I have volunteered to be out there early to help escort people in case there's people who have never been to the Historic Courthouse. And then lastly, there will be, John Bussell has volunteered to be downstairs to help people into the service lift, not the elevator, but the service lift. So if you are struggling to get up, there will be a lift. So, did I miss anything, Clerk Spencer, Administrator Zanzo?
So will you take cover everything there?
Yeah, I might even do the drill. But with that, I'll make a motion to have our Committee of the Whole meeting be held at the Historic Courthouse for October 12th, 2023.
Hamilton support.
Do we need to put that on the website? Just,
Probably a good idea.
okay,
Yeah, it's gonna be.
because there are a lot of people that use the website, yeah.
And the time is not changing.
Yeah, at 9 a.m. Yep.
Yes,
Okay.
be on the website.
Expect, Commissioner, have you gone address appropriately, time-wise? Maybe next week?
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carried. Brings us to additional items. To be PA 116.
Yes, I asked that be added to the agenda. This is frankly, pretty much a formality. PA 116 is the Department of Preservation Program for the state. Gives tax benefits to farmers to enroll in it. It's handled by the local township for review and whatnot by the Soil Conservation Service, but it is required to go to the county as well. And I've never known one to be turned down. But more importantly, it's a 45-day timeline, so I don't want to hold up somebody that is trying to get their paperwork done before the deadline for property taxes. So I'm going to move that we put the 9 pending PA 116 applications from Almont and Goodman Townships on the October 12th Committee of the Whole meeting with authority to act due to the time-sensitive action required.
Is under support?
Any discussion? Commissioner Matt?
So I just, this is the first I've heard of this, so I I was just curious, what is it all about?
It's a very long-standing program. My farm is in it, many farms, a very large percentage of farms in the county are in it. Essentially, it was created in 1974, so it's been on a very long time. You'll have a lot of farms in your district if you do it as well. What it does is you sign a temporary deed restriction saying that for 10 or more years, depending on the agreement, you will not use the land for non-farm purposes. It stays in agriculture. And once you do that, there is a potential tax credit depending on the income of the farm and the tax rate. So it will vary from year to year. It's sort of insurance against a disaster. So if the farmer is going along and making a normal income and all of a sudden he has a huge crop loss where his income goes down, he'll get some property tax relief. So that's a very brief way. That's what the program is. So it's pretty attractive to farmers. Very large percentage of the farmland issue is in the program. I'm not familiar with these numbers. I will become familiar for the next meeting because we just haven't turned in, but there's 9 parcels in those 2 townships that apparently want to join the program.
So is there any reason why somebody wouldn't want to be in the program? Farmers?
Well, if you thought you're going to develop your farm in the near future, you know, you're maybe at the very south end of the county and subdivision developments coming your way, and you think you're going to sell it, then this would not be an attractive program. But if you're pretty well committed that you or your kids are going to continue farming for the longer term, then it's frankly an insurance policy against those bad years.
And I would assume that solar farms or wind farms are not included in the word farm.
They should not be, but I'm going to comment on that if the commissioner comments.
Okay.
If somebody committed to being in that program, could they opt out a couple of years later? Is that
They're
once you
committed
sign
for
it, you're
their
in it for 10
contract,
years?
they're committed for their contract signing. For instance, I signed up for 40 years because when I'm done farming, my son's taking over the farm. But if I were on a shorter time frame, I might do it for 10 years. Each person makes a decision how long they want to be in the program for. But, you know, it's an economic decision. If you think you want to divide your land and sell it in the near future, you can fully stick the program. But if you're confident you're going to be farming longer term, then you make the choice. I think the end year, anything from 10 years to, I think theoretically 99 years.
So let's say you did it for 10 years and you decided after 5 that I made a poor choice, I want to sell my property to a developer, you kind of stuck.
Too bad.
Yeah.
You've signed a 10-year commitment, right?
Okay.
Because the taxpayers probably are getting you some kind of a tax break during that time, so it's a trade-off.
Okay.
So you sign, you're obligated.
So, how do you find out, or is it public knowledge who's signed up for this?
Absolutely. Yeah, we'll have these applications before the meeting, and so some in your community, I can't remember.
There's some idea.
Yeah, no.
Oh, yeah, there's a list there.
Fourth from the end of the new packet we got. Fourth to the last page.
But I think the Rural Conservation Service has a map showing all the BA 116 land in the county. There's a lot of it.
Okay, so we have motion and support. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carried. Okay, that brings us to item number 4, to be the broadband motion.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, apparently at the last meeting when we set up this committee, into a full committee, the wording was cut off or not fully understood. So I'm just going to redo that entire motion. We make a motion to convert the broadband ad hoc committee to a full subcommittee to include the following members: Commissioner Hamilton as chair, Tom Coleman, and Truman Mast, and Joe Suma, the drain commissioner. I want to include him because the broadband project would affect his drains. So, and then Moses Sanzo, Jackie Arnold, because they've already been involved with this with the previous administrator, and John Daly from the road commission, again, with infrastructure, so he should be involved. And alternate Kevin Nisley, and then Phil Katz from MSU Extension to represent farmers on the broadband board, and then Dan Allen from the ISD.
Is there a motion to support?
Support, take it on.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carried. Brings us to item number 5, towing contracts.
Make a motion that we approve the towing contracts of the for zone 1 and policy meetings for zone 2 and 3.
That's support.
Support, take it on.
Any discussion?
I don't know if those contracts are in our package, but they were emailed to us.
Yeah,
They're all there.
middle of,
Pretty boilerplate.
Okay, seeing no discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carried. Let's do ad hoc committee updates. Do you have any ad hoc committee updates?
I have one, Mr. Chairman. The committee dealing with the legal counsel. We just found out, and Moses can give the background, that the Michigan Association of Counties did not get our ad posted on their website, which is very important that it go out to all the counties so that other county attorneys can look at it. So I'm going to move that we extend the deadline from September 30 to October 30, so that that can be properly posted and maximize our.
Is there a reason why it wasn't posted?
We don't know. We gave them the information when we first released the RFP, and then they got in touch with us this week on Tuesday and said, "Can you please let us know when the deadline is, because we plan to post it today." And we're like, "Well, the deadline is Friday." So we found our, they are a source that reaches out to a lot of firms throughout the state, so we would like to get some exposure, maybe some responses from them.
I'll support.
Any discussion? This is a 30-day extension for the corporate counsel.
Just one more thing, Gary. Have we got much response, period, on this?
Only verbally so far.
Thank you.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carried. Any other ad hoc committee updates? I think that's the only one we have. Okay, brings us to our second public time. Anybody from the public like to speak?
Get me away from the board, Mr. Chairman. I want to thank you folks for supporting the township and their zoning and all that type of thing. This is very, very important. But thank you goes a long way sometimes. I want to thank Moses for coming to our MTA meeting, supervisor meeting, and you folks are all invited to, and you want to come. The other part of it is, on this PA 116, we've dealt with it for years. It's a good program, but there are penalties. You can only split up 1 acre at a time. We have 5 acre minimums in the township, so what does that mean now? They gotta go to the zoning board of appeals. Some of them sign them up for 100 years, don't they? But they can basically go back 7 years once you violate that program and make you pay the taxes back. It's about like PA 260 on being uncapped and that type of thing, so there are penalties for it, but it is recorded at the registry of deeds office, so. Thank you again for letting me talk, usually another minute or so, but, please help us out, whatever you can, come to our township hall next Monday, and all. And we'll try and find out what's going on. This is a disaster, total disaster. Millions and millions of dollars are being lost out there. People don't realize, that's our food chain too, so. Hopefully all the representatives will promise me they'd be there, Sarah will be there, she's on top of this, so. There's good employees like that to help people like me and the townships out too. But back to this deal with the townships, seems like every 10 years they try to get rid of us. They don't want us. They don't want us talking to local people that sit here in the audience. And it don't matter if it's assessing, you name it, taxes, elections, they get involved in all this kind of stuff. It just makes it harder for us. But we need to keep local control so that we can help our people out in our townships. I don't care what it is, zoning, even assessing, they try to take that away from us too. Penalties for that. And you had to appoint a designated successor, you folks did, just in case we screw up. We're all human, we all make mistakes. When they go to that extent, you know what they're gonna do, they're gonna grab that phone and say, hey, you're not gonna do it tomorrow. God bless you all, and thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public like to speak during the second public time?
Mark Webb, Marathon Township, that 750,000 is spent on pensions. I don't know if you have enough information. I'm involved in a multi-employer pension program. We try to keep it funded around 70%. Problem is, when you get your funding up too high, the government steps in, they're highly regulated, and they'll make you increase your pension. You won't have a choice. Everybody gets a bump up, which is good for some of the people in the front row. Not as good for the taxpayer. I'm all in favor of paying them what you promised, but there's unintended consequences of having too much money in your pension program. Like I said, under 70, I think you get into a critical zone where the government steps in and makes you have more funding. And I think you need an actuary here to tell you where you should be funded. These guys can't tell you, but I know they have a vested interest in wanting to have a lot of money in their pension program. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public like to speak during the second public time?
Carolyn, Marathon Township. The mics, really, you guys talk to each other, and the mics being on end, like the Bill and, Commissioner Hamilton, Commissioner Howell, if they, I don't know, maybe they should be moved towards you guys, because usually you guys are looking at each other when you speak and we can't hear you. So anyway, I know a lot of you guys read your Bible, and Jesus asked a lot of questions. That's what Jesus did. He asked questions. And in our home, we always told our kids there's never a stupid question. Please ask, because if you don't know, there's no stupid question. So I have a couple of questions. First of all, I'd like to know if the health department is still pushing the COVID, whatever you want to call them. There's a lot of things out there that they're not safe, and especially not safe for particular people. So I'd like to know, that's one of my questions. Another question is, y'all know what happened at Long Island, where they literally went in and displaced people in this nursing home to place illegal migrants or immigrants or whatever they're called in these. And it's in the news if you haven't seen it. Amendment 4 says the right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrant shall issue. But upon probable cause supported by oath or affirmation, in particular describing the place to be searched and the person or things to be seized, and I feel like that violated those folks on Long Island. The person that spoke was a Korean War veteran that got taken out of that house, that home. That was his home. And my friend and I went to Suncrest the other night to walk the gardens, the master gardener's garden. And it was a beautiful day. And the representative that was here today from Suncrest said, we're housing our orphans and our widows. And like she said, some of them are orphans. And not one person was outside. Beautiful day. Those gardens are beautiful if you get a chance to go see them. Not one person was sitting outside. It was a Sunday. Because I thought about that. I'm like, wow, it's Sunday, it's the weekend, and not one person has a visitor in Suncrest. So I guess my question is, has our county secured? Are we secure that somebody doesn't come in and take housing away from our people to place other people there? I hope that you're ready. And then there's breaking news today that 11 lawmakers are suing Michigan SOS, Secretary of State Jocelyn Benson, and Michigan Director of Elections in federal court for violating U.S. and Michigan Constitution to change election laws. That's just happening now. It's about 2018 and 2022. Thank God for people who are standing up for us.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public like to speak during the second public time?
That the article she was talking about from Gateway Funded, I was actually very happy to hear about that. I'm sorry, Anna Pearson, Hadley Township. I was very glad to see that article, just because a lot of us have been talking about how many of these things are unconstitutional that are going on in our state. I also believe this article calls some of the laws that have been passed that are in our Constitution now being really null and void because they are unconstitutional. This is hilarious, but not hilarious. It's not hilarious at all. If you go to where the new, I think it's proposal 3, I don't pay attention to the numbers. There's been some bad proposals regarding the elections. And if you see it on our new Constitution and you go down to section 5 of 168, I'll have to send it to some of you guys. It says something exact opposite. It talks about how you have the election in one day, but yet right above that, the new laws about the 9-day voting, it just doesn't match up. And then of course we've got the federal Constitution that says that our laws are supposed to take place. Our elections are supposed to take place on one day. I hope this is something that will gain traction, that people will be honest and really look at our constitutions and see that our Michigan and our federal constitutions and see that we have some wrong things going on right now. I think people know that, and I'm very encouraged by these 11 legislators who decided to say something and do something about it, because I know that they've been hearing from the people. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public like to speak? Okay, we're going to close the second public time. Brings us to commissioner reports. Commissioner Hamilton, you want to start?
Some comments were made earlier in the meeting regarding the septic resolution. Michigan's the only state that doesn't have laws or standard on that. Just because we're the only state that doesn't have a standard on that doesn't mean we have to run with the crowd and join the other states. Personally, there's too much regulation in this country, too many laws. So I consider us not being part of the rest of the states and having state laws regarding these septic systems a good thing. It should be at the local level and not with some state bureaucracy. I don't know, I just don't get the attitude these days where the government's the answer to everything and we need to create more and more government to control things. Every law that gets passed is a restriction on the people in some form or another, and just you got to stop that. So I'm glad to see that our board is kind of taking a stand on that, against that with the resolution. Also, the local control resolution. We have to again stand up to the state and keep our stuff local, our rights local. So again, some bureaucracy in Lansing or Washington, D.C. has no clue about what's going on here in our townships or in our county. Those things are best left to us here, our representatives and our people here. So, yeah.
So I guess I'd like to just bring up a few points. One, with administration, I thought we were gonna get like a weekly update on things. Isn't that what we kind of said that we wanted, was, like Friday, get an email saying basically what's going on what's been done, that sort of thing. Work on that, that'd be great. Secondly, can we get an update from the broadband committee and kind of where we're at with everything? Maybe next meeting, just kind of a,
We will have some stuff.
an update for the public and for us. Other than that, Dryden Fall Festival is this weekend. In the city at the fairgrounds, there's a vintage market going on. So it's supposed to be a beautiful weekend. Hope some people can go out and enjoy some of the stuff. Bye.
Just want to remind people about the Lapeer Orchestra being at the historical courthouse on October 26th. Yes. For a fundraiser to help maintain and restore that building. Get it updated. It is in pretty rough shape, and we need to, in my opinion, keep that building, keep it in its best condition as we possibly can, so that we can keep our historical values in this community, so that the kids and future generations can see history and experience history to some degree. Also, I want to echo Mr. Hamilton's thoughts on administrative level, and all more and more laws being passed, and stripping more and more local control away from us locally. I think it's sad that we are drifting into a centralized government that's far removed from the people and further away from the people. But in light of that, I think it's kind of ironic that far distant government dumps a bunch of money on local municipalities, and local municipalities tend to take on the same role as the far and removed government do in creating more departments and more things, more expanding even local government into areas that they ought not to go into, in my opinion. It just creates a bigger government and less individual entrepreneurship, individual liberties, and the government just becomes a bigger place where people go to be fed, rather than the government was really set up to be a watchdog for the people, not a cow to be milked. So I think we just got to be careful. Even locally, we end up turning into the same thing that we complain about, where we are expanding local governments and creating more departments and more things that government is in control of and in charge of and providing for the people. So I just think we have to be very wary, be very wise, and think things through very, very thoroughly before we expand more government at the taxpayers' expense. That's all.
Yeah, I just want to thank Supervisor Ron Shiskey for coming in this morning and making us aware of the crop damage. I had absolutely no idea. I did notice at my own garden that multiple people that I know that do gardening said they had a terrible garden this year, and I thought maybe it was just us or maybe too much rain. But as the supervisor pointed out, every 10 years they try to take away local control. This is what we've been talking about. And I've had numerous township officials reach out to me, other county department heads from other counties, and they all say the same thing, that they see the state wanting to take away local control. So just want to encourage people to, Michigan's government functions good when townships are in control. That's the way it's designed. Township government, state government, township, county, and state. And you remove any one of those, you're going to have issues. I know probably many of us would want to remove the state at this point, but they do serve a role. There was a design for that, but things are not in proportion how they should be. And I just want to encourage people to get involved. Go to a local township meeting or once a month. If you live in a township, it can't be more than a 5-minute drive. They're usually in the evening. And yeah, that's all I have.
Filling off that, local control. There's efforts in Lansing right now to take local control in the form that they just want to eliminate township boards, township supervisors, township clerks, county clerks. This board is centralized it all in Lansing. They want the ability to transition 120,000 acres in Michigan to renewable energy. They can't even get 40,000 acres, you know, nobody wants that in their backyard. Nobody wants gravel mines in their backyard, especially when they're next to Superfund sites. So that's a huge problem, but there is an effort in Lansing to do just that. That's what they're trying to do. The septic systems, another thing, just as an example, and I'm sure this is probably common in a lot of the jurisdictions, is my parents lived in Mayville on Cat Lake, in Tuscola County. My grandfather back in the 50s put a septic system in using two 250-gallon oil tank drums and made a septic system and made a field. It was all sand out there. It's worked great for 60 years until my parents passed away a few years ago. And had this septic standard been in place, my parents would have been forced to tear that out of the ground, probably spend $30,000, $40,000, which they couldn't afford. That's probably the case for a lot of people. If it was a non-functioning system and it was a problem in a biohazard or a problem for their neighbors, I'm sure something would have been done at that point. But you know, we can't put that burden on our people that can't afford to have these things under a one-size-fits-all program that they want to shove down our throats from the state of Michigan. Our county health department doesn't have the staffing nor the funds to be able to afford to have, you know, I mean, it's going to come out of their budget, come out of our budget to pay to have these people spend as much as $1,400 to $1,600 for these every 5-year inspections under this proposal, under the septic code. Local control, same thing. Election day is just that, election day. I'm in favor of same-day voting and paper ballots. It works great. It's worked great when I was growing up. You know, we knew who won the presidential election, who was our senators, our congressmen, by the 11 o'clock, end of the 11 o'clock news at night. I remember as a kid. France, they just did this. They used paper ballots. They knew by 11 o'clock the results of the election. We're way out on a limb with this, and it's ridiculous. The Bolsheviks in Lansing are at it again. Every day it's something new. You know, today they're on the floor of Senate Bill 471 and 472. In relationship to House Bills 49, 45, and 46. It's a scheme to take away the civil, what it is if you're convicted of a misdemeanor, they can take your firearms from you now. So if you use foul language in a text message, or you calling somebody repeatedly, you can be convicted of a felony. If you enter somebody's ice shanty out on Lake Nipissing, you could be convicted of trespassing and of a felony, and you lose your gun rights. That's what they want to do. This is how they're incrementally coming after our firearms. It's crazy. It's ridiculous. They know it's unconstitutional. It is unconstitutional. I certainly hope our sheriff will, if this ever comes to pass, it is being debated on the floor today. If it ever passes, that our sheriff says he's not going to enforce it. You know, these are blatant violations of our constitutional rights under the Second Amendment, as well as many other examples of this garbage that keeps on coming out of this city over to the west of us here called Lansing. So anyway, staffing, CMH, I know we talked about that. I think we've had some individual discussions about the staffing at CMH. They're up to 177 people. Our county is 88,400 people. Back in the early 2000s or late 90s, we were maybe just a little higher than that, just a little. And the staffing back at CMH back then was 75. You know, we talk about government growing. You know, how do we grow 150% in community mental health? And we just keep on every time I see something come across. We're growing community mental health. I understand there's some things that community mental health does. It's very good, and what we talk about trying to not grow government, and here we are. We're growing government, and it's something that is very troubling for me anyway. Pretty much all I have to say.
Just want to piggyback on something that our chairman said. I too want to thank Ron Shishkin. I wish he was still here. I don't know if any of you all know this, but he started being the Goodland Township supervisor the same time the county was building the historic courthouse. So he's been there for a while. All jokes are well, next time I'm out at Lapeer Golf and Country Club, I'm sure he'll make me pay double for my golf. But I digress. Ron is a great man, a pillar of this community, and on a serious note, I do think he is one of, if not the longest serving public official in the state of Michigan. He's been there for close to 60 years there in Goodland Township. In public comment, there was a concern or question raised about courthouse security. I can tell you, I regularly go through it, as does the leader of our county, Moses Anzo. In fact, he told me this week he goes through security on a regular basis. And there's two things that happened this past weekend in the city of Lapeer that were great successes. I was able to make it to one on Sunday, which was they opened their disc golf course. It's a beautiful par 3 course. They also had Porch Fest on Saturday. I was out of town. I guess that was a rocking good time. And then all of you back in early September would have received an email from the CMH CFO, Emma McQuinlan, about next Wednesday. There is CEO interviews out at EMS. I would highly encourage administration and all of you to be at these meetings. As you see, we work very closely with the CEO of CMH. I know 3 of us are on that board, but big hire, big decisions, and I would encourage you all to be at those interviews. That is all that I have.
Just a couple of things. I'm involved with the recycling effort. We had an initial meeting with the Genesee County folks. Moses has been having some meetings. I've been communicating with Lou Lutz, who is one of the Municipal County Commissioners. They're interested in working with us as well. And interestingly, they already have a recycling facility on M24, just north of Lapeer County. So we're going to explore that more fully, but we want to make sure we do this in the most economically advantageous way that effectively gets some recycling done. Well, that's going to be a long-term project, obviously. In response to Commissioner Nicely's question about solar farms and PA 116, that's never been allowed. When I signed that deed restriction saying my farm stays in farming for 40 years, I never anticipated I could build an industrial strength solar farm on it. But our liberal friends in Lansing, just in the Senate this week, passed a bill saying that even though you've signed the deed restriction, go ahead and put a solar farm on it. To me, it's totally contradictory to what the concept of farmland preservation is. More importantly, it's part of the whole woke program of trying to drive this green energy down everybody's throat. That hasn't passed in the end, but it's part and parcel of their effort to rip away local citizens' rights on all these things: gravel mining, solar energy, wind energy. This is just the first shot over the bow. We got to watch it. Even though the Michigan Constitution specifically includes townships, part of the constitutional government of Michigan, that doesn't mean they can't eat away at us nibble by nibble by nibble on the power. That's what's going on. So I just reaffirm what others have said today. This is an eternal vigilance thing. We've got to constantly battle back. I swear I spent half my time in Lansing not trying to pass good legislation, but trying to stop bad things like these taking away local control. So, anyway, thanks.
Eternal vigilance, well said. We're gonna fight until we're in the ground, so. Okay, that brings us to Administrator Chief Financial Officer updates.
Yeah, a couple things. So in response to Commissioner Zender, we are supposed to be sending out what we call the week behind report twice a month to the 7 of you. We actually just had a conversation about that this week, so we'll be back on track. Actually, there's one that's outlined for tomorrow. I won't get into the details why we stalled, but we'll be back on track, so you can expect that twice a month, and that will always be reflecting the week we don't have a board meeting, things that took place the week we did not have a board meeting, so I give you guys an update of things that are going on behind the scenes. So my apologies on that, I should have communicated that. So, and the other thing is just to follow up on what Jolene from Veterans Affairs said about the social media policy. So right now that's been done in extreme confidence with John Miller and our labor attorney. I didn't like the first draft. John Miller didn't like it either. So we started over. Now there's a new first draft, or we called it a second draft, and that's now being reviewed. And we won't show that to the union until after the Policies and Procedures Committee looks at it and is okay with it, because I don't want to have multiple meetings with the union to look at something that's not a draft that's approved by the committee. So that's where we are with that, and I'll give you guys updates on that on the week behind report. Thank you.
Jackie, anything to add?
Yesterday I emailed, PDF copies of the budget hearings, information, that's, source documents that you can look at before Monday. I also have printed versions upstairs, if anybody would like a printed version, it's available.
I say one thing to Jackie and the other Jackie, they did a great job with this budget book. It's new on our county website. If you haven't seen it, you can go to departments and finance down menu and then go to the budget book under related links, and you'll find it there. Very informative and expansive. So I think a lot of you will be able to get a lot of information off that. I really highly recommend you take a look at it. Great job.
Thank you.
Okay, just need one more motion.
Motion to adjourn.
Or, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed. Meeting adjourned.